In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation is honoring decades of memory, service, and sacrifice. Through its Steel Across America tour, the foundation brings an original World Trade Center steel beam to communities across the country as a symbol of sacrifice. To honor the 343 FDNY heroes lost on 9/11, Tunnel to Towers is delivering 343 mortgage-free homes and continuing efforts to end veteran homelessness. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation at T2T.org.
He's at war with woke.
Joe Concha
thinks liberals are a joke.
Joe Concha.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Ah, yes. Welcome to the jungle. That is Concha at Night. This, I believe, is 1987, if I'm doing my math right on this one. So we're talking nearly 40 years old. Good Lord. I guess that explains how this year, Axl Rose will be the official retirement age of 65. Again, if you want to feel old, listen to this show sometime. We remind you of this stuff. Anyway, this is Joe Concha, Fox News contributor, Washington Examiner columnist, best-selling author of The Greatest Comeback Ever Inside Trump's Big Beautiful Campaign. Thanks so much for joining us here on this Tuesday night. Where traveling appears to have improved today at the jungles that are airports across the country, especially the busy ones like Atlanta Hartsfield or New York's LaGuardia or JFK. But it's weird because Chuck Schumer, who, you know, is totally credible and believable. We've known him for years. He would never say something that didn't come true. Well, sure enough, Kevin, we're going to get together cut number 5 and play the minority leader in the Senate, New York's own Chuck Schumer, saying that, you know what? If President Trump deploys ICE agents to airports and brings in additional resources, especially those who are actually getting paid, unlike TSA officers, because Democrats shut the government down, well, it's not going to do anything, damn it. Well, here's Schumer in cut 5, and here's the result. Go.
Everywhere ICE goes, trouble follows. We've seen that.
Goes.
And it is highly likely the airports will be no exception. No one trusts that ICE is going to make things better.
Once again, ICE agents have arrived here in Philadelphia, but I do want to point out, this is an empty line right now. We are standing in the middle where travelers come to check in for TSA. Yesterday, this was all the way back to the garage. So good news today, lines aren't too bad. We're live from PHL. Brianna Gallagher, Channel 6, Action News.
All right, that's Philadelphia, and we've seen it actually in other airports, including the aforementioned Atlanta Hartsfield, where they had 4 or 5 hour delays as far as, think of it, you're in Atlanta, you want to fly to, I don't know, Nashville, you want to fly to Dallas, you want to fly to Chicago, even Los Angeles. The flight is shorter than the wait to get through security to get to the flight. Scary stuff. I should say that in past tense because now lines are almost non-existent in Atlanta. There are peaks and valleys, sure, but at this point, watch the videos on social media. It's gone from lines snaking around the luggage areas as far as where you get your luggage is concerned, the carousels, and out the door and into the parking lot to it looking like a normal airport again. ICE officers also giving out water to people that are waiting on lines in other airports. In other words, it's good to have more resources there. And Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader in the House, the guy who could be the next Nancy Pelosi for Democrats as far as being the House Speaker, literally said yesterday on CNN that ICE agents were going to be a menace in airports and could possibly start killing people. This is all Democrats have, and Trump playing 4D chess here as far as sending in ICE, which again, they're being paid under the big beautiful bill, which is funded through 2029. So if you have to reallocate several hundred ICE officers to help move lines along, then do it. Oh, by the way, it makes airlines more secure because at a time of war, you kind of don't want 40, 50% of TSA agents rightly calling out. I mean, you can't blame them. They haven't been paid for more than 6 weeks. Not the highest paying job in the world. If they're looking for other jobs because they have to feed their families or put gas in their car, then more power to them. But again, this is government being shut down, not by Congress generally. This is Democrats who vote again and again to reopen the government, just like they did, by the way, back in December. Remember that other government shutdown? And what was that over? Obamacare. What happened to that? Because they said they're going to fight tooth and nail until they got the funding they thought should be given to Obamacare, where health premiums are up 30, 40, 50%. Yet the government should just keep throwing more money at the problem, Democrats argued. And they said, we're going to shut down the government until we get the money for Obamacare. And then Schumer just, out of nowhere, decided to quit and said, all right, well, we'll fight another day. Whatever happened to that fight? I thought Obamacare absolutely and totally needed that money. Oh, right. Now we're moving on to ICE because that's now the shiny object that Democrats see as a political advantage, I suppose. But this is where we are, where airports, if they are running relatively smoothly again, then what leverage, so to speak? And you're the leverage, by the way. You, the traveler, the American people, you're the leverage for Democrats. They don't care if you suffer. It's if they can regain power in November. This is all this is about. And Trump, by bringing in ICE, now has taken away that so-called leverage. And now we're seeing rumblings in places like the Wall Street Journal where Chuck Schumer suddenly maybe could be replaced as the minority leader. But you could change Schumer. That's fine. You'll get another useful idiot like Chris Murphy of Connecticut doing the same exact thing anyway. So I don't think it's the leadership. I think it's the overall strategy, which is to oppose Trump on everything and hope that the chaos can lead to a change in leadership in the House and possibly the Senate in November. Nothing more, nothing less. Anyway, I always like Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. And here quickly, this is how he describes Schumer as far as the shutdown is concerned. And this is another Kennedy-esque analogy. Cut number 7 and go.
He's lying. He's lying like fish swim.
That's all he had other good stuff in there, but he's lying like fish swim. Where does this guy come up with this stuff? You get like this feeling you have to have like a 2-drink minimum when you listen to Senator Kennedy because he is that good and that funny. Anyway, so how do travelers feel about evil ICE being in airports? As Jeffrey said, they may just start shooting and killing people. Boy, so are travelers generally happy to have the Third Reich in airports, or are they happy that they're there because they just want to get to their damn flights? Well, I have a feeling you know the answer. This is cut number 16. Go.
As long as they don't bother anybody, I'm okay. I was concerned about people. So they're not bothering us. Let's get it done.
I like that they're here. I think that it's allowing us to move and get to where we need to go.
It's kind of scary in a sense because you don't know what to expect with ICE.
As long as they can help us move a little bit faster, maybe they can take some of the work off the TSA agents as far as general security. I'm all for it.
This comes after days of people waiting up to 5 hours in security lines wrapped around baggage claim, even starting outside. Travelers are frustrated, anxious. Many are missing flights. And overall, they want to know when Congress will finally come to an agreement to end all of this. And so far, more than 400 TSA workers have quit since the start of this partial shutdown, according to DHS. And
there you go, Madison Scarpino of Fox News. But you heard the sentiment from travelers. And it's not like you see it on Fox and you say, well, they're only going to pick people that are pro-ICE. You watch other networks, and when they interview travelers, everybody's happy that ICE is there, that more federal resources being sent in, and Trump is the guy who came up with this idea. And again, I'd love to see what Democrats do next, because without the pain, they don't have the leverage. Without the leverage, they're going to have to end this thing. And if they end this government shutdown, the far left, led by AOC and the squad, oh, forget about it. You want to see civil war. This is going to be 1864 all over again in the Democratic Party with the circular firing squad. No question about that. Meanwhile, it's nice to be Zohran Mamdani, isn't it? You're a new mayor. You've been in office for about 3 months. And whenever you have to do an interview, no matter what, you're going to be asked, the really tough question. It's opposite Tuesday. This guy, it's amazing. You get access to one of the most controversial figures to ever take office on any level, who has said some of the most hateful things you could possibly imagine in the past. You have audio of it. You have tweets of it. You could read it back to him and ask him to defend his positions on XYZ. And instead, listen to this interview, because this is the rhetorical version of a hot stone massage. And it's supposed to be a tough media. No, not if you're a Democrat, and certainly not if you're Zohran Mamdani, the perpetual victim. This is cut number 1. Go.
Sour cream or no sour cream?
As a life question?
as a life question and as a talk about order question.
Always sour cream. You're not a sour cream?
I don't want to lose my job here, but as a New York City worker, I have a right.
Protection you have. You can like sour cream and not get fired.
I said to no sour cream in my crunch. And by the way, it is a wonderful Crunch Wrap Supreme. You don't even need the sour cream. Truly.
Firmly disagree.
Yeah, most New Yorkers would.
Yeah, tacos. I mean, it is Tuesday. Taco Tuesday, I suppose. But Mamdani was actually literally eating a taco during his interview because he looks so comfortable. How could you not be? Again, great job, media. Anyway, speaking of the media, CNN, the Craptastic News Network. Just yesterday, they were reporting that President Trump was lying about holding talks with Iran as far as, okay, if you promise to give up your nuclear weapons and you promise to give up any uranium enrichment and you promise to give up your ballistic missiles program, and, Trump has all the leverage right now. So just X, Y, Z, A, B, C, give it up, right? And, CNN said that there were no such talks even happening. Well, they have a new report today. Of course, they don't acknowledge that they completely effed up on Monday, but let's play that report anyway because it's so fun to listen to. Cut number 6, go.
There's important breaking news coming into the Situation Room. We're now learning from a senior Iranian source that there has been an outreach between the U.S. and Iran. The source tells CNN that this was initiated by Washington. With us now, CNN military analyst, retired U.S. Air Force Colonel Cedric Leighton, and CNN Global.
Oh, that's great. Oh, a senior Iranian source tells us. Now we believe it. See, when Trump said there were talks, we at CNN didn't believe it. But when the Iranians tell us, just like the Gaza Health Ministry would say 5,000 people were just killed in an Israeli strike, we got to believe them. It's the health ministry. No, it's Hamas. Just like when Iran tells you something, it's the regime. And maybe you want to believe our own government first before you believe the Iranians, who tend to, lie. Like a lot. Hey. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is Concha at Night. Do we have any Guns N' Roses we could kick in here, I wonder? Oh, of course we can. Slash. I mean, I know Eddie Van Halen's the best, but Slash had his moments. We got to admit it. Here comes the drums. Anyway, back with so much more and GNR in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition.
Joe Concha.
Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition. Sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Take me down to the Paradise City, where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. That is my uptight white man's voice doing Axl Rose. This is second best song. They came back to back on this album in 1987. And you're like, well, who's this Guns N' Roses? They were the hottest thing in rock in the late 80s. And then they kind of faded out quickly because, Axl had problems. And like every other band, the potential, you always think about the potential of a Guns N' Roses. Anyway, we'll fade out slowly because where the grass is green, the girls are pretty. And, Jesse Waters on Fox, he asked the question, or at least answered the question around, Kamala Harris, is she hot? Now, look, we're talking about somebody who I think a lot of you probably aren't a fan of, but when you think back to Joe Biden being boxed into a corner in the 2020 campaign, where he had to promise to pick a woman of color, this was to James Clyburn, Democrat, South Carolina being a very key primary state. Remember, Biden got blown out in Iowa by Pete Buttigieg and Bernie Sanders, and in New Hampshire by Buttigieg and Sanders and Elizabeth Warren finishing 4th and 5th. It was going nowhere. And he needed South Carolina. And if he didn't get South Carolina and the black vote there, then his campaign was finished. So then according to every report you've ever seen, there was a backdoor deal between Clyburn, an older black man, and Biden, where Clyburn said, okay, you got to promise to pick a black woman to or at least nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court. And you also must promise to pick a woman of color as your vice president. And Biden, being Biden, sure, no problem. Whatever it takes, right, to get into power. Because Biden always thought that he should be president. And after Obama was president for 8 years, then the natural progression should have been to the vice president, like it was after Eisenhower and Nixon runs in 1960, like it was in 1988 with George H.W. Bush after Reagan. It's the natural thing. Gore in 2000. And instead, Biden was convinced to sit down and make way for Hillary because Obama wanted an Ivy League educated woman to be the nominee. So then he could say, my legacy is first black president, and then I paved the way for the first female president. Again, it's all about checking off boxes and symbolism, not who's the best person for the job. Anyway, so Biden then has to choose basically three people. This is what he's reduced to. Stacey Abrams, two-time loser in Georgia, as far as running for governor there, or Karen Bass, the failed mayor currently of Los Angeles, or Kamala Harris. Now, of those three, if it's a beauty contest, you pick Kamala, right? Again, it's the skinniest kid at fat camp kind of thing. But Kamala, I don't know how to even where do I come down on this? Relatively attractive. Okay, there you go. So that helps in a world where people are scrolling through phones. And if you have somebody who has, say, a weight problem like a J.D. Pritzker or a height problem like, I don't know, Dudley Moore, not that he ran for president, Michael J. Fox, you get the point. All right. We have tall presidents. We have thin presidents for the most part. And we have aesthetically pleasing people that you could kind of accept when you see them on your screen 24/7. Okay. So here's where Jesse comes down as far as Kamala's looks. And this is only the type of dialogue you would get on the happy hour that is the 5 on Fox News. Cut number 10, go.
I have to disagree with Dana. I didn't think Kamala was hot.
Oh, she was attractive.
I said she was beautiful. I'd say hot.
I don't know. I mean, she was okay. But I mean, if we're talking hot, she's not hot.
Well, I didn't say hot. I said,
well, it's about hot people, okay?
AOC.
I'm not going to go
Gretchen
there.
Whitmer. Being generous.
Do you ever see the politicians before television? It was like old fat guys with no hair, with like mutton chop sideburns.
People, right? Yeah.
So TV is the thing. You got to have a good-looking person. And now I like the fact that Democrats have gone from we need like a transgender Native American amputee to just someone who's hot. And I feel like that's progress.
A transgender amputee. I mean, yeah, it's true. We live in a visual medium. And if you run for president, you got to be acceptable, not just in terms of policy, but especially in the eyes of the beholder. We'll put it that way. Anyway, it's Guns N' Roses. It's Guns N' Roses night, he meant to say, not noses. That would not be a good thing when looking to be aesthetically pleasing. And this is Joe Concha on Concha at Night. Back with so much more in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Oh, here we go. On Guns N' Roses Tuesday, this is 90s Guns N' Roses. I believe this was on the Terminator 2 soundtrack. James Cameron's best film, by the way. Don't tell me Titanic. All right. Terminator 2, you can make the argument, is the best sequel of all time. In fact, I will... Yep, I'm declaring it now. It is. A tremendous movie. Don't worry about sci-fi, Schwarzenegger, all that stuff. It is a great, great movie. And this song was a big part of that. I believe it was June of 91 this came out. Not sure where it went to. Probably went to number 1. Had to. Right? I mean, this thing has some real pop. Here we go! All right, Carlos. We can fade out. The chorus is awesome. Carlos, cue up the chorus for the way out on this segment. All right, this way people can stick around for it. But trust me, Terminator 2 and that whole, actually, soundtrack is one of the better ones you'll ever hear. in your lifetime. All right, enough about the movies from, let's see, 91. That's only 35 years ago. 34 years ago. Nope, 35 now because we're in 2026. Boy, again, if you want to feel old, tune into this show. All right. Speaking of, well, the opposite of great is, I don't know, not so great, is cheap, is Temu, right? You ever order Temu? On Facebook, these Temu ads come up. You can get something that you think is like $100. You get it for like $8. Well, so whenever you call somebody Temu something, that is an insult. So that's why I have Temu Obama coming up right now. That, of course, is Cory Booker, of course. Cory Booker thinks that he is the next Obama. And yeah, he's going to run for president probably in 2028. A crowded field of all-stars. I mean, we're talking like the 49 Yankees here. You got Newsom, AOC, Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, J.B. Pritzker, Cory Booker. It's going to go like 20 deep. But Booker is great at performance art. If great by you mean like the type of performance art you would see at 3 a.m. on Skinamax, right? That sort of cheesy acting. And here he is at Newark Airport yesterday going nuts because, God forbid, the lines are 4 or 5 hours long in some airports. Therefore, Trump is going to bring in federal resources, ICE, to move the lines along and alleviate this for passengers. In other words, looking out for you, the American people. Well, Temu Obama has a big problem with this, and that's cut number 21. Go.
And so what's happening today in America that should outrage everybody? He's taking this very same agency that has been bursting into our schools, into our churches.
They haven't.
Into our hospitals.
No, they haven't.
Into our courts.
They really
and even
haven't.
to the homes of Americans. He's taking that agency that is reckless and out of control and bringing them to our airports.
Oh, wow. Quite the compelling argument. Except, as Tom Homan, the border czar, points out on Fox News, Temu Obama can't even give one example of any of those places that he says ICE is going into, and this is cut number 20. Go.
But I want to say one thing. He's misleading the American people. He's lying. Now, I want him to give me one example, just one, when ISIS went into a church to arrest somebody, or we went into a hospital to arrest somebody, or we went into an elementary school to arrest somebody. Just give me one example. You know why? He can't, because there isn't any.
Yep, not one church, not one hospital, not one school, except for one school where literally the illegal that ICE was chasing ran into a school where obviously you can't let a criminal into a school that's under arrest, might take hostages or whatever. That's the only example that I guess Temu Obama can give here as far as ICE going into a school, literally to get a guy who ran into one while trying to escape arrest. What an absolute joke. And that is the Democratic bench, everybody. Meanwhile, Chris Murphy of Connecticut, who wants to be House Speaker, or I'm sorry, he's a senator, so he wants actually to be the majority leader in the Senate. In other words, when Chuck Schumer is finally ousted, and he will be, well, Chris Murphy is really trying to portray himself as the next guy to be the next Schumer, which, boy, talk about small shoes to fill. But Murphy is probably a bigger clown than Schumer, which is really hard to do. And here he says the quiet part out loud, proudly, it appears, on MS, whatever it is now, with Chris Hayes. Chris Murphy saying that, you know what, these are the people we care most about, and you're going to love who he puts at number 1 on his list. Cut number 15, go.
The negotiation didn't have a path to citizenship. It was entirely on their terms in order to get Ukraine funding, right?
Well, I mean, Chris, that's been a failed play for 20 years. So you are right that has been the Democratic strategy for 30 years, maybe. And it has failed to deliver for the people we care about most, the undocumented Americans that are in this country.
The people we care about most, the undocumented immigrants in this country, the illegals in this country. Those are the people we care about most. It's on audio. You just heard it. The people we care about most are those who are undocumented, a.k.a. illegal. You want a campaign ad? There it is. That is the whole ball game. Of course, Chris Hayes, who hosts that show, just let that one go. Maybe he didn't hear it. No, of course he did. But again, that is just gift wrapped right there. Oh, all right. Let's have some fun, shall we? Because I love this stuff. I love it when Family Feud can really give me the goods. There are so many, let's put it this way. I've been rewatching it again with my wife and my kids, which probably isn't a good idea. They're only 12 and 10. There's some provocative stuff on there that we have to kind of talk ourselves through. It's not overt, but it's a fun game most of the time. But once in a while, you do run into situations like this where there's nowhere to hide. Anyway, this is cut number 14, and this may be one of the best answers ever on Family Feud. Trust me. Cut 14, go.
Delaney, we have one answer left. Delaney, if you give me that answer, your family wins the game. But this time you have 2 strikes. If it's not there, the other family can steal, and they will win the game.
That's right.
Name something Abraham Lincoln probably used to ride on.
Okay. And?
Miss Lincoln.
Oh, no. Oh, boy. That's not good. I mean, is it totally inaccurate? I don't know, but crowd liked it. All right, here comes Steve Harvey after he finally gathers himself. Yep, still gathering himself. Doesn't know quite what to make of it.
For 4 games. Been one of the nicest, squarest families I've ever met. All of a sudden, game 4. Riding in on donkeys. And now he's riding Miss Lincoln.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my God. Riding on that thing Miss Lincoln got.
It's there. They won. It's the correct answer on this ridiculous show. Oh, all right. We can fade out, Carlos. I mean, it's not the most, I don't know, coherent or cerebral answer that gets you the big prizes on Family Feud. That's what I'm learning. But anyway, I had to play that for you guys. It's really just that good. Oh, boy. Meanwhile, Bill O'Reilly, our friend here on WABC, of course, used to go on Bill's show many a time on Fox News. Here he is in a great interview he did with Tom Homan, the aforementioned border czar, on why J.B. Pritzker, the Illinois governor, is so much against President Trump and against Homan. And I think Homan, again, this guy is as serious as a tax audit. And he's just going to tell you exactly what's on his mind, and we need more people like this in government. That I do know. Cut number 11, go.
Why do you think Governor Pritzker is so adamant against you and ICE? Why?
Because they hate Trump more than they love the residents of
Chicago. Is it that simple, though?
You tell me. I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, yes. I think any elected mayor, any elected governor, any elected city council person, their number one responsibility is the safety of their communities.
Precisely. And he knows it, and that's exactly right. Again, I don't know what Democrats run on this November outside of, I guess, we're going to bring down prices, which they've proven they can't do. And then what? You're going to run on border security? You're going to run on making the world a better place? Because if Cuba, Venezuela, and Iran all fall in some way, shape, or form, where we have much better positions with them, especially when it comes to oil in terms of Venezuela and Iran, I mean, can you just give Trump the Nobel Peace Prize now? Because Trump is now saying that Iran is agreeing to no more nuclear weapons, no more uranium enrichment, no more ballistic missiles, ICBMs. And if there's somehow regime change there and you could actually get a government that we could work with, boy. And we're talking about Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran within a couple of months. We're talking about decades of these countries being our enemies and then becoming our allies. You want to talk about transformative? That is President Trump. Before we go to break, one more cut because this is too good to pass up. Tom Steyer, who is a multi-millionaire, big fan of Joe Biden, had him to his house on several occasions during presidential trips, Thanksgiving, Christmas, that sort of thing. He's running for governor of California. Like 100 people are running for governor of California. But right now, the way it works in the Golden State is that the top 2 people in the primary move on. It's not based on party. It's just based on percentage of vote. It's a ridiculous way to decide a primary, but California figures that's always going to be a Democrat or two that finish at the top of the primary. Therefore, it's fixed. So it's a Democrat versus a Democrat. Either way, they get a Democrat. Well, the problem is out in California is that my former colleague, Steve Hilton, is now on top of the polls, and Sheriff Chad Blanco, Republican, is number 2. And then a couple of points back, enough where you can kind of see some distance between the Republicans and the Democrats, is the utterly ridiculous Eric Swalwell. He of Fang Fang fame. Again, if a chick from China comes up to you and starts propositioning you and her nickname is Fang Fang, run the other direction. Not Eric. He didn't do that. And then obviously Katie Porter, who was a profoundly horrible human being who treats people not so well. She also is tied with Swalwell. But again, a couple points back of Republican Hilton and Republican Blanco. And then way back in 5th place is Tom Steyer, who has more money than all of them combined. But he's so afraid of upsetting Newsom voters in California that when asked to give Gavin a grade, just couldn't think of anything the same way Kamala Harris couldn't think of anything on The View in terms of what would you do differently from Joe Biden. But this is that moment again. Cut number 17, go.
What grade would you give Governor Gavin Newsom for the last 2 terms?
I don't know. Look,
A through F.
I don't know. I
It's
think
a letter.
People have come to really appreciate how Gavin has stood up. For
You
the state
won't
of
give us a
California.
grade. You won't
I'm
grade
going
him?
to. No, I haven't followed it closely enough to give him a grade.
You haven't followed it closely enough. You're literally running for governor of the state that the guy is running. Oh, I'm sorry to yell, but how did he make millions? How is that person living in like 18 different homes that are much nicer than mine? I really haven't given much thought to the job that Gavin Newsom's doing, the job that you want. All right, give me some Axl Rose here. You could be mine. Way out of time. And that's what Axl used to do. He used to take 1 or 2 syllable words and turn them into like 9-second words. Here it comes one more time. Great voice. Shame. They had so much runway, and they screwed it up. Guns N' Roses tonight on Concha at Night. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
This is the Joe Concha Show, weekday edition, sponsored by the Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Here's Joe Concha.
Oh, my. Sweet Child O' Mine brings us back to one of the greatest years ever of 1988. Appetite for Destruction. A little trivia for you. This is the only single from the band, which I can't believe, which went to number 1 here in the United States. That's amazing. I figured Welcome to the Jungle absolutely got there, but no. Anyway, very much worth if you're just taking a long drive somewhere. Just put down like the best of Guns N' Roses, and that drive will go by quite quickly. All right, Carl, we're going to slowly fade as we finish our final segment of the evening. Boy, this hour goes by fast. And, well, if you're wondering what your kids are doing on spring break down in Florida, I went to Panama City back in, well, when Guns N' Roses was a thing, back in we'll say the 1990s. Let's put it that way so I don't completely age myself. But, there's a basic game plan that goes into spring break for the most part. This wasn't mine, of course. I was there for the surf, the volleyball, and for the great camaraderie with my brothers and with my friends. So all that said, this is cut number 18. This is Johnny, of course, from Jesse Waters' show on Fox News. He went down to Florida to get the game plan from current 2026 spring breakers, and it is as horrifying if you're an adult, especially one with children, as you could possibly imagine. Cut 18, go.
What college you guys go to?
UTC. FAU.
Sacred Heart University.
Ohio State.
Spring break 2026. What is the game plan?
Drinking. Blackout with my rack out.
If my mom is watching, I'm sorry, Mom, but I've been getting pretty drunk almost every day.
Hook up with some girls. Get with as many girls as we can.
and not come back with an STD.
Wake out with one person each night, that's it.
So how many guys have you made out with this week?
I've been here for about 10 days.
10
so
days.
10.
What were their names?
I don't remember.
Name one.
No.
Name me one. Name me one.
What is the craziest thing you've seen at spring break?
Not that crazy. I've seen people do like cocaine off of boobs. I saw a girl black out on the street. That was pretty exciting. Sunday mimosa drag races.
You see that guy take his pants off in the middle of the club?
There's a lot of famous people down here.
Have you seen Johnny Belisario?
What?
Never mind.
Okay.
That's him. Yeah, it was funny, when I was in school and even before I had kids. Now, it's not so funny. Those are people's kids that are saying those things. I got years before I have to worry about this stuff. I guess, let me do my math here. 8 before that becomes a reality. I just, again, with phones and everything else like that, we're now privy to information that we used to not be as parents. And I'd rather just not know. It's that simple. Meanwhile, President Trump, I think he's got a good plan here. He is talking about how, if you're not going to pass the SAVE Act, well, cancel your Easter plans, because this ain't let's put it this way. If the SAVE Act is not passed and we don't have voter ID and proof of citizenship when people want to vote, well, guess what? Republicans will get wiped out in the midterms in November, because why would you vote for them, right? I mean, this is like the one thing that a lot of voters really, including Democrats, by the way, independents, blacks, independents, and Latinos, really, really want. So if you don't pass this, then why would anybody trust you with power ever again? So he's telling senators, stay through Easter weekend if you have to, and do it for JC. We're not talking about Joe Concha. Cut number 13, go.
So I'm tying Homeland Security into voter identification with picture and proof of citizenship in order to vote. And those two items are the most important thing having to do with Homeland Security. So it should be part of the Homeland Security bill. And I'm requesting that the Republican senators do that immediately. You don't have to take a fast vote. Don't worry about Easter going home. In fact, make this one for Jesus, okay? Make this one for Jesus. That's what I tell them. That would be a damn good thing. The most important part of Homeland Security is voter ID and proof of citizenship. Nobody can vote on Homeland Security without voter ID or proof of citizenship. And you can't have Homeland Security without voter ID or proof of citizenship. So we're tying them together.
He ain't wrong. And in cut 9, here he talks about how DHS and ICE, well, they're going to take over election security, which Democrats will, of course, say that, well, ICE is going to start gunning down voters online. It's going to be intimidating, and it's going to suppress votes. Well, yeah, you know what? Election security is national security, so why wouldn't you do that? By the way, illegals can't vote, so it's better to have ICE at these voter locations. It all makes sense. Cut number 9, go.
Voter ID is part of Homeland Security. Think of it. We're talking about two separate items, but they're really the same. Voter ID is part of Homeland Security. And citizenship, proof of citizenship, is part of Homeland Security.
Precisely. So that is a preview of the 2026 midterms and the 2028 presidential election. And again, if you use common sense, it only makes sense to have DHS and ICE at polling locations. There's nothing intimidating about it. It's about securing elections so we trust them again, where almost no one does at this point. Sweet Child O' Mine. Guns N' Roses. Incredible. Number 1 in June of 1988. We'll have a band every night here on Concha at Night. In the meantime, I got 2 words for you. Until we're back tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on WABC on stations around the country. Bye-bye. In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. Heroes like Fire Lieutenant Michael Wells, who was inspired by 9/11 to serve his community. After 14 dedicated years of service, he lost his battle with occupational cancer, leaving behind his wife, Katie, and their 3 children. Tunnel to Towers honored Lieutenant Wells by paying off the family's mortgage in recognition of his sacrifices. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org.